Well, in the categories of political diplomacy, only in this week, the Deputy Prime Minister held discussions with the UN Director for Eastern Division, who is in charge of political and peace affairs. The discussion revolves on Ethiopian peacekeeping mission in Abyei. Particularly, the discussion dealt with the Sudanese request of ending Ethiopian peace mission in Abyei. And in these discussions, both sides have raised the fact that Ethiopian peacekeeping mission had been successful, and Ethiopia's contribution to the peacemaking is making in the region and at global level is vivid, and Ethiopia's contribution is something that has won appreciations of all sides. So both sides have agreed that if the need arises for the departure of the Ethiopian peacekeeping forces, it is supposed to be an honorable departure, and everybody should give a due regard and credit for Ethiopia's contribution, and stakeholders also should be involved. Otherwise, the Deputy Prime Minister brought to the attention of this director the fact that there are some unwanted activities, some sabotaged by some officers in the UN under the context, under the pretext of giving asylum to others. These are the forces that urge others, especially the peacekeeping forces, to go for asylum without their will. Otherwise, this week, the ambassador of Jordan took leave of the Deputy Prime Minister. He briefed the Deputy Prime Minister on what he has been performing, on the fact that he was trying to strengthen the bilateral relations between Jordan and Ethiopia. He cited the fact that the Hashemite Kingdom was appreciative of the relationship, historic relationship with Ethiopia, and that Jordan is very much enthusiastic to further strengthen relationship with Ethiopia. Otherwise, the Deputy Prime Minister also expressed his gratitude for the contribution of this ambassador, and also in the meantime he raised the fact that Ethiopia is displeased with the recent measure of the Arab League regarding the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Especially, he raised the misguided and the biased approach of the Arab League when it comes to the issues of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. 72nd extraordinary meeting of the IGAD Council of Ministers also was held. This meeting, of other things, expressed its appreciations for the orderly, democratic, and participatory elections that has taken place in Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Uganda. Ethiopia also sent a letter to the UN Security Council rejecting the position of both Egypt and Sudan, which refers to the appeal of these countries to bring in the United Nations Security Council and to bring the UN Security Council to deal with the issue of the GERD. Ethiopia has expressed its commitment to the AU-led process, and it has also asked the UN Security Council to urge both Egypt and Sudan to stick to that positions and to support the African Union in realizing the very objective of the negotiations. As you know, this week the government of Ethiopia has declared humanitarian ceasefire, unilateral humanitarian ceasefire in the northern part of the country. this had been, our ambassadors all over the world have been briefed on the content and the objective of this humanitarian ceasefire. These ambassadors were briefed in the groups, and the first ambassadors that were briefed were the group of Asian ambassadors and Australasians, our ambassador to Asia and Australasia, then our ambassadors to Africa, Europe, and Middle East were briefed in the other group. And the third group was our ambassadors to North America and Latin America. All were briefed on the very objective of the ceasefire and the content. Well, I'm aware, I'm sure that you have been to the briefings by our officials on the content of this ceasefire, but however, I will briefly bring to your attention what the Deputy Prime Minister briefed our ambassadors. The very objectives of this humanitarian ceasefire emanates from the fact that the objective of the law enforcement operation had been achieved. There were two major objectives for these law enforcement operations. One was actually to make sure that the Ethiopian armed forces that were detained by the rebels will be freed, and they are freed now. And also to take away the hardwares, the military gadgets that were taken by the rebels. So the liberation of our detained soldiers and the release of heavy-duty armaments were the two major objectives of the law enforcement objectives in that part of the country. Now at this time, due to the operation, this force is no more threat to the security of the nation. It was proved that the force is no more a threat. Another reason for this is that Ethiopia, the government has another priorities on its table. And of the priorities, the presence of the armed forces in that part is not in the top priority, and therefore this decision of ceasefire is in order. There is an objective also of allowing the farmers in Tigray for seedling time. This is a time for seeding, this is time for sowing seed, this is a farming time, so therefore the farmers should be free to carry out this one. The need for preventing external interventions under the pretext of this operation also is appropriate. So because of this, this humanitarian ceasefire has been declared. There were also requests on the part of our partners to realize ceasefire, to bring in ceasefire. And these are also some of the other reasons. There are now international reactions and reactions from some corners. These reactions are positive, and we hope more reactions will come. So far, there are positive reactions from the African Union. There is a support for the ceasefire, for the measure taken by the government. There is also support coming from China, Russia, the Arab Emirates, the United Nations, the United States of America, and Sweden. I think others will follow. We hope others will follow the suit, and we hope more support will come in. As far as the activities of our ambassadors abroad is concerned, our ambassadors in various countries have been undertaking various diplomatic activities over this last week, of which I can cite that our ambassador in Ghana has presented his credential to the President of Ghana, and concurrently also he discussed with him on the bilateral relations between the two countries. Head of our Consul General in Bahrain also held discussions with Foreign Minister of that country on strengthening bilateral relations with Bahrain. Our ambassador in South Sudan also held discussions with the Foreign Minister of that country. We can refer also to the activities of our Consul General, who held discussions on cooperations with the companies in that country, the companies that deal with pharmacy, biotechnology, and medical devices. What else? Otherwise, our missions in Doha, Ankara, and Kampala have been promoting tourism of the country. The finance ministers of Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somaliland, and Sudan also held discussions on strengthening trade in the energy cooperations between these two countries, between these various countries. With citizen-centered diplomacy, last week I told you that the government is working on repatriating its nationals from Saudi Arabia, those who were stranded in Saudi Arabia. In this case, we have started repatriating our citizens. So far, we have had so many flights to Saudi, like we have had 35 flights, who brought in 9,902 citizens, of which 861 are females and 193 are children. This repatriation will continue until all those who are in the plight will be freed. In the meantime, we brought in also our nationals, 33 of them from Hargeisa and 73 from Puntland. Otherwise, Ethiopians residing abroad, Ethiopians, nationals, and people of the Ethiopian origin have been contributing various things to the GERD. Apart from supporting GERD politically, they contribute they make financial contribution to it as well. I can mention an organization known as BEDR that contributed $50,000 US for this project. I can cite also Ethiopians residing in Frankfurt who contributed 67,000 euros. Ethiopians residing in Canada, Manitoba, also contributed 47,900 Canadian dollars. This contribution has continued. An effort by Ethiopians abroad to support this project in various ways has continued and massively. Thank you for coming.